Hey guys, I'm back, and today I'm going to be doing just a quick get ready with me and just chatting about what's new and what my plans are around here for the rest of the year. And that's kind of it. Don't have a lot to really do. There's not a ton of housekeeping to do today, so let's just hop straight into it. I'm going to start with a little bit of this Exa color corrector because it's been hot all day. I live in one of the humid states now, and this is how it's going. No, it's actually been really fun, but it is so warm this weekend, and so I am definitely getting a little bit just overheated. And then my makeup, I've been trying to play around with different routines that sit well in the heat. I think the surprise GOAT product is this RMS concealer because I already knew I loved it, but I've found that, no matter what my face is doing, it doesn't really move. Like once it's on the skin, it's on the skin. And I've been really enjoying that about this product just because with everything else that could be slipping, sliding, smudging, moving, my concealer staying in place is really nice. This is going to be featuring a lot of my Project Pan products. I've got 4 projects going on right now. My year-long 25 by the end of 2025 project, my Graveyard Project Pan those eyeshadows, and I pan that palette. So everything's been, I have a full face to say the least. But I've been trying to put myself together every day, even if I'm not necessarily going anywhere, just because I found that it's nice for, I don't know, feeling organized, feeling like I did something that day, getting in a ready to work headspace rather than hanging out in like comfy clothes. I need to figure out a situation with this table. It's not the most sturdy, so if I lean against it, or bump it, it'll definitely wiggle a little bit, so apologies for that. I think if I were able to fully push it up against the wall, it would be a little bit better, but I've got just, it won't sit nicely that way with everything else I've got going on. So this is what we're working with for now. I've also been really into brushes over sponges lately. I was just watching a lot of like Hannah Louise Poston, Johnny Ross, and Kevin, don't know his last name, but they're from the Beautiful and Bothered podcast, and they talk a lot about different brushes that they use because they're both trained MUAs. And it's definitely different than like the early 2010s YouTube that I watched to learn how to do my makeup. I was fully in it for the 2016 era of the full face of highlighter challenge and everything, so that's been good. To like try using brushes in different ways now. I definitely have ones that I prefer for certain steps. Like for example, for cream blush, it is this one or bust. Like if I try to go in with something like this for cream blush, I feel like it just does not blend out the way I want it to. Another Project Pan product that might be nearing its final legs, if you can see that it needs to be scraped out. These little tools, I believe they were a gift from my mom, but they came from Amazon, have come so much in handy. The only thing is like they're silicone with a little metal rod, so the tip, like the metal is like starting to come out at the tip just a little bit. Like I think now that there's crevices, it's maybe not as sanitary as it once was, but it is what it is. It came in like a set of like 6. So for the most part, I can just toss it and move on to the next one when I'm ready to do so. And then now that I've moved and unpacked, I have had so much more free time to read, watch shows, and just like do this and relax and be a little bit more creative, and that's been really fun. So I've been into The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's a sickness. You know, if you haven't started yet, I kind of don't recommend that you get involved because it will take up way too much of your mental space if you're someone like me who struggles with watching characters make questionable choices on TV. Speaking of people making questionable choices on TV, this most recent season of Perfect Match was a complete dumpster fire. I'm sorry. Why? I think, like, if this show was realistic, none of these women, I think even Lucy says it at one point of, like, I don't think I would put up with this behavior in, like, the real world. And it's like, yeah, when you have, 8 men to choose from, and also you're fighting to, like, stay on the show rather than get kicked off because you and your boo broke up, you're going to put up with a lot of BS. And the men, like, no one is cute enough to put up with this kind of malarkey. Like, they're just such babies. I could not do it. I had to, like, so many times I would go back to, like, keep watching because a friend of mine was also watching it, and so we were watching together, and I'd have to, like, pause mid-episode and be like, I'm coming back to this tomorrow. I can't do it anymore. Like, I can't watch these men act like complete ding-dongs, and these girls who seem like normal people just completely get dumped on the whole time. So yeah, I had a lot of strong feelings about that show. Also, if you've never seen it, recommend not getting involved. The first season was like, it's all people who've been on reality shows before, so it's definitely a little bit more produced, and you can see it in just the way that they act and stuff, the way that they carry themselves and interact with the other people, the way that they do interviews afterwards, like they're ready with their side of the story. So it's interesting. I have not really watched any of the interviews with people who were on the show, so if they said anything insightful, I did not witness it. But somehow I doubt it. More Project Pan stuff. I have to film my Graveyard Project Pan and pan those eyeshadows updates. I could do it tomorrow. If I really want to cut it down to the last minute, I could do it like later this week. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really hoping to have some more like exciting updates, because I feel like my last updates for all of my projects were A, late, and B, like there were certain products that had a ton of progress because they were in a little makeup bag that I have been carrying around with me for the past 2 months, and then everything else had been completely untouched. And so it would be nice to have a little bit more uniform progress on everything, but that's showbiz, baby. It's also, like with this shade in particular, sometimes I'm so nervous to roll it into a project because when I'm using something really organically, I almost don't want to jinx it for myself. It's like if you're someone who loves reading, but then it gets assigned to you to read in a class, and it's a book that you like probably would have read fine on your own, but being assigned to read certain chapters every week just takes all the fun out of it. So I try not to be the English teacher of my project panning life, but we shall see. the ultimate goal would be to do like a self-care day tomorrow. I need to do a little bit of shopping, just a couple little things I need to go pick up, and then maybe I could even have time to paint my nails. Read. Oh, speaking about books, that's a whole other rant. I'm trying to decide if I want to reach into Ember or if I want to reach into Jasmine's Wish today. I feel like Jasmine's Wish is really cool, like just a cool shade to use. So maybe I'll go in with this one because that sounds fun. Okay, where was I? Sarah J. Maas is at it again. I started the Crescent City series. I've read House of Earth and Blood, which is the first one, and then last night I started House of Sky and Breath, which is the second one. This one's really interesting because her other two books are the like medieval style fantasy where technology is basically replaced by magic. Like they can do a lot of cool stuff, but it's not tech. And this is a very modern fantasy book. They have cell phones, they have electricity, they have showers, they have cars and helicopters and planes and all of that stuff, and then also they have magic. And there's more creatures, like there's angels, and like they kind of go into depth more about like the other things other than Fae, whereas the first two series of hers that I read, Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorn and Roses, focus a lot on the Fae and like Fae related creatures. I don't know if that makes sense. And so that's been good, but let me tell you, I read the last 300-ish pages of the book in one sitting. I like finished up work early one day, and I have a hard time reading this book right before bed because then I can't sleep because I want to keep reading it, and my brain's like churning about what to do, what's going on. And so usually I will like stop work and then sit and relax and read, and then have do dinner and anything else that I have going on that evening afterwards, so that I have a little bit of a break between book and sleeping. And so I thought about doing that day, and I read from like 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. and I finished the book, and then I was like spam texting my friend who was reading it kind of alongside of me, but she had finished it first. And I was like, what was that? Also, I'm opening the second one immediately. So I think with books, there's a lot of like personal preference and things like that, but I find her books to definitely be like engaging. I'm not bored. I'm usually curious about what's going to happen next. So that's been good. They're not necessarily for everyone, but they're entertaining. I also recently read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, which was cute, very cute. I want to watch the movie because I think Lucy Hale stars in it, which is fun. I like her. I watched Pretty Little Liars when I was a little tween, and so I always like watching like her and Shay Mitchell and the other ladies, like what they have going on. I remember one time I was watching that show and someone asked my mom, like kind of was watching it with me and was like, do you think this is age appropriate? And my mom was like, well, like they're kind of just teenagers running around, like I don't see why not. And I don't think it was necessarily age inappropriate, but it was more suspenseful than a lot of the other things. I think it kept me up at night more than most other things I watched at that age. But I also watched Gossip Girl, so there's that. Perhaps maybe that was the most age inappropriate thing I watched as like a young teen. Well, it's hard to say. I love the description of that show where it's like a group of wealthy teens in New York City do terrible things to each other repeatedly. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of liner on my upper lash line with this shade from my Dior Warm Neutrals Backstage Eye Palette. Just to try and get in pan those eyeshadows uses before it is time to do my update. Okay, I'm gonna go do my mascara off camera, and then I will be right back to finishing everything up and just update you about the rest of what's going on in my life. There we go. Nothing like a little mascara to really pull everything together when you're starting to doubt yourself. And then, yeah, so I've moved. For those of you who may not know, I moved out of state for my job, so I am getting settled in this new area. I'm really excited to be here. It is basically the same job, just new territory, so getting the hang of that hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to, as I think some people thought it might be, just because a lot of big transitions all at once. Basically, right now, the biggest culture shock, or the biggest shock to my system, has been weather. So that's been fun. Honestly, it could be a lot worse. And so, yeah, I've just been hanging out and getting to know my neighbors, getting to know the new neighborhood, and a lot of cleaning. Just the idea of living amongst other people's dirt is unappealing to me. I'm sorry, like, your dirt is good for you. My dirt, I love my dirt, but I don't want other people's dirt in my home. So just like really getting into all the crevices, getting under all of the appliances, getting in with those. Clorox doesn't make them anymore, but there's these bleach pens that I found on Amazon that are like knockoffs. I think they may be from another country, unclear, but they work so well. So I need to order more of those because I used it all on the tile in 2 of the areas and I have a 3rd. So I'm gonna need to order more, but it is well worth the like $8 to have completely brand new looking grout. So that's been really nice. And then, yeah, a lot of cleaning, organizing, and unpacking. Really, see, do I think I could use up this whole lip liner in 6 months? Probably not. But boy, would it be fun to do so. It's definitely not one, you know, the ones that you can kind of smudge out and cheat a little bit. This is not really one of those. Once it's on, it is on. It is hard to move. I can kind of blur out the edges, but it's not mushy. It's not like malleable, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And then what gloss do I want to wear with this? Can't find the gloss I wanted, so I'm going to do this Bare Minerals mini lipstick in the shade Notorious. Which is giving the desired effect. So that is the whole look. Honestly, I've been really vibing with the cool tones lately, which is strange for me. Usually I'm much more of a cool tones in the winter kind of girl, so these mauves, these like purpley tones that have been rolled into my Pan Those eyeshadows, I've been digging, and hopefully that doesn't mean too many bad things for the other products in my collection. And yeah, if you like project panning, if you like Get Ready With Me's, empties, tags, and sometimes like an anti-haul, then make sure to stick around. I have lots of that planned, and most of all, I hope you're having an incredible, awesome day wherever you are, and that I get to see you in a future video. Thanks, guys.